Hello, everybody, and welcome to UPSCprep.com. I'm Shagun Singh, and as you can guess from the title of this video, it is going to be about 10 tips that will help you make productivity a habit. Now, there are a lot of videos across of YouTube who talk about productivity and who talk about अच्छा आप ये कर सकते हो तो आप प्रोडक्टिव हो जाओगे, ये कर सकते हो तो आप प्रोडक्टिव हो जाओगे, जैसे वर्क स्पेस क्रिएट किया, your productivity will increase. If you remove the distractions from your phone, your productivity will increase. But I do believe that there needs to be a more scientific based insertion on how can you actually increase your productivity. Because of course, अगर दुनिया में हर चीज स्टडी हो रही है, तो प्रोडक्टिविटी को कैसे इंक्रीज करते हैं वो भी स्टडी हो रहा है. So what I am doing in this video is combining the information that I have received from these two very distinguished gentlemen. One is Andrew Huberman and one is James Clear. And they happen to be leading experts in Andrew Huberman in neuroscience in Stanford. He's the one who made neuroscience accessible. He made neuroscience cool. And he talks about how you can utilize neuroscience to, let's say, lead a more productive, more optimized, more happy life. James Clear, on the other hand, talks about habits and habits formation. So in this video, what will happen is, I will give you some tips from Andrew Huberman, which talks about आप generally productivity कैसे increase करते हैं, जो बहुत ही science based fact है, और इसको आप consistently follow कैसे कर सकते हैं, ये James Clear सिखा सकते हैं. So it's going to be a combination of both, 5 tips from him and 5 tips from him. So without wasting any further time, let me get straight into it. So 5 tips from Huberman. What can you do to become more productive? Number 1, find your window of productivity. Now, I know a lot of night owls will come for me and they will say, no, मुझे रात के 3 बजे ही पढ़ना है. अब क्या है? Science has been researching and trying to understand what is the optimum time for you to, let's say, do your most productive task to get the most out of it. And science, research, Dr. Huberman says that that happens to be the day. अब ये क्यों होता है? क्योंकि 2 reasons हैं. Number 1, एक चीज होती है called circadian rhythm, which is basically your sleep and wake cycle. So when you wake up, let's say after 20 minutes or let's say after 1 hour, that is the time when you are most alert, when you are most focused. And being alert and being focused are 2 extremely imperative skills to have when you are trying to be productive, right? So according to him, early morning and sort of early afternoonish, even around 12, right? 12 से 1 बजे तक आपकी productivity peak करती है. तो आपके सबसे जो important tasks होते हैं, let's say you have to prepare for your optional and you have to do hardcore theory. You do it then because that is when you're more efficient, that is when you are more alert, and that is when you will be able to get more focused. Now, what happens is, since each person is different, उनका वो जो productivity window होता है, वो भी different होता है. So suppose for some people, they wake up, they spend an hour, and then they find that 1 hour after they are waking up to be the most productive hour. For me, it is 2 to 3 hours after I wake up. How have I realized this? I experimented with myself. Now, UPSC is a journey where you need to allow yourself to grow out of habits that are not doing service to you. So I would say to every person who's watching this video, try growing out of the habit that you have, let's say, spent the last 20, 25 years odd on, and see if these tools, which are really backed by people who are researching on them, will help you or not. Try and see कि अगर आप उठते हो इसके 1 घंटे बाद या 2 घंटे बाद या 3 घंटे बाद कब आपकी मैक्सिमम लेवल ऑफ प्रोडक्टिविटी आती है, and plan your day accordingly. So that's number 1. Number 2, since we're talking about productivity, one of the arsenals of UPSC aspirants is coffee and chai. मेरे लिए चाय थी. तो what happens is, caffeine क्या करता है? Caffeine is basically a stimulant, right? एक stimulant है जो आपकी बॉडी में एक ऐसे हार्मोन को basically block करता है, which tells you that you are tired. So what happens is, it will help you increase your efficiency and your productivity by this much. However, you have to use it strategically, which means if you are using coffee, let's say 2 hours before your sleep, it'll be a disservice to you. When do you consume coffee? You wake up, half an hour later आप कॉफी पीते हो और फिर you see कि उसके जो effects हैं आपके most productive time of the day में utilize हो रहे हैं ताकि आप let's say उन 3 घंटों में सबसे ज्यादा information जो आप ले सकते हो आप निकाल सकते हो. One of the biggest problems of UPSC aspirants is they tell me, ma'am, I am not able to finish my syllabus on time. One of the reasons that happens is, of course, the vastness of the syllabus, but also because focus nahi hota hai, aap itne overtired hote ho, and maybe because you're consuming caffeine too much, you're jittery, you're anxious, you're not able to, let's say, stay in a meditative, not even a meditative, in a calm state to focus on what is in front of you. You have to do the same information again and again and again just to get a clarity of it. Isn't that a waste of your time? So consume caffeine strategically, consume it near when you understand कि आपकी productivity यहाँ peak करती है या जब आपको चाहिए होता है कि let's say one block of productivity is over and let's say you have to stretch it out for the next half an hour. So you plan it accordingly and you don't use caffeine as a crutch, but you use it as an enhancer of your performance. Hello everyone and a very happy Independence Day in advance from us at UPSCprep.com. To celebrate Independence Day this year, we decided that it would make a lot of sense to give everybody who's connected to us a 15% off on all of our courses, right? So we mean the UPSC Basics plus Mentorship course, we mean the JS Basics plus Mentorship course. We're also talking about the UPSC Essential plus Mentorship for UPSC 2024. Now, this course, if we were to talk about it specifically, this course is designed for students who are giving the exam next year, 2024. That's their target. Now, everything that you can think of under the umbrella of UPSC that you need to prepare, including current affairs, including CSAT, a faculty of which I am. I take English comprehension for CSAT, along with value addition material. Everything is there covered in one umbrella course. Now, if you're interested in something like this, how do you actually get the discount? You go up, you scroll up, purchase the course, and then you put in the coupon code of India15, as you can see here. Quite simple, quite easy. Now that I've taken time of yours to explain this to you, let's get back to the video. अब तीसरी बात करते हैं. Expose yourself to natural light. मैंने एक चीज की बात की थी, that is called the circadian rhythm, right? This is basically your sleep and wake cycle. Now, a lot of people will say, our problem is that, okay, you know what? I decide one day that I am going to sleep at 10 o'clock, but I have my phone in front of me. I have all of these stimulants in front of me. मैं टीवी देख रहा होता हूँ या मेरे दिमाग में 10,000 anxious thoughts आते हैं. इसलिए मैं अपने आप को उस sleep cycle को regulate नहीं कर पाता. So what Andrew Huberman has said is to do this, wake up in the morning and get some natural sunlight. थोड़ा सा धूप अपने शक्ल पे आने दो, थोड़ा जादू बनो, right? Because when you do this, what happens is your body understands automatically, oh, you know what? Sunlight. I am supposed to be awake now. And because it allows itself to be awake, it will also allow itself to crash, right? And क्योंकि आपने strategically, let's say, coffee सुबह ही पी ली, है ना? आपके पास क्या होता है 11 से 12 घंटा फिर आपको मिल जाता है of the time between you consume the coffee and the time when you're going to sleep. What happens here is the crash, the caffeine crash, which is a very real phenomena, by the way. It happens very naturally. So after subah utha, you get the natural sunlight, which happens to be an energizer like it's nobody's business. You get your coffee, you study for your time as you do, and you become productive, more efficient, more focused, which means you're tiring your brain out. And as you go into the night, you'll fall asleep. There is no other option because you'll be too exhausted to otherwise not do it. What happens is, आप सुबह पढ़ नहीं पाते हो, तो आपका वो build-up हो जाता है रात तक, और वो anxiety ही आपको awake रखती है. अब ये anxiety will not help you in showing up the next day. And what is key in UPSC but consistency, right? So 3 steps. Now let's talk about number 4. Get enough sleep. I've talked to you about everything. I've talked to you about wake up, get your energizers, get your coffee, get your sunlight. But it is not going to be an underestimation if I say sleep happens to be the pilot that is driving this plane, right? You need your sleep, and not just because to maintain the rhythm, not just because it will improve your efficiency, not just because it will improve your focus, but because sleep is a part of your study. क्या होता है जब आप पढ़ रहे होते हो और आपने बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोसेस कर ली होती है, कभी कभी यूपीएससी एस्पिरेंट्स कहते हैं ना मुझे सपने में लक्ष्मीकांत आ रहा है, और ये क्यों होता है? क्योंकि आप जब सो रहे होते हो, so your brain is processing all that information that you have, churned into it in the day. It's a part of, allowing that plasticity in your brain, allowing that, let's say, active recall function that your brain has to do its work. It's supposed to be working. So if you don't get enough sleep, you're doing an incomplete injustice to the way that you have studied, because you are not allowing yourself to process that information. A lot of people say, you know what, I've studied 20 books, but I can barely remember anything out of it. And that usually happens is because you've not allowed your brain to basically process that information. The more you allow your brain to process that information, the more you'll be able to recall it, the more you'll be able to utilize that information when it matters. Now, talked about 4 things. Last thing from Huberman, that is, take breaks throughout the day. आप पढ़ रहे हो, पर आपको 3 घंटा लगातार नहीं पढ़ना है. You study for 30 minutes, you become productive, and you know the first 30 minutes of study, you will be productive. You will be like, मेरे से अच्छा कोई पढ़ ही नहीं सकता. I am the topper. I'm going to get rank number 1, which is what you feel. But if you have to continue in that same thing in the next 30 minutes, energy चली गई completely. अब ये क्यों होता है? Is because what you do is you sit, you study, 30 minutes gone, then you check your phone, which is a screen, right? And then you come back to studying again. So what happens is your body didn't really get a break. आपके दिमाग को distraction dopamine hit तो मिल गया, पर आपके body को break नहीं मिला. So instead of checking your phone in those 3 hours, right, what you do, and I'm sure people have talked to you about Pomodoro technique and everything, so I'm not really going to cover that in detail here, is in those 3 hours, let's say 30 to 35 minutes you studied, you get up, you do 10 squats. 10 squat भी नहीं करने तो अपने घर के 1-2 चक्कर लगा लो. 1-2 चक्कर भी नहीं लगाने हैं तो find a stairs, नीचे जाओ, ऊपर आओ, नीचे जाओ, ऊपर आओ. What happens here is you're allowing your body to wake up, right? You're allowing energy to come back into your system, and because of this energy, the next 30 minutes will also feel new. You will feel rejuvenated because you allowed your body to have some level of movement. Movement is very important, right? So if you utilize these 5 tips, and if you try and incorporate them in your study schedule, productivity is going to increase. It is going to change. What you need to do is allow yourself to believe in this, right? So we've talked about, चलो Huberman का पार्ट हो गया, and हमने ये भी बात कर लिया कि चलो आपको क्या करना है. अब इन सब चीजों को आपको मेंटेन कैसे करना है ये जेम्स क्लियर बताते हैं. How do you stay productive is the game of James Clear, Atomic Habits, like I said. Without wasting any time, let's get into it, right? Now, 1, the compound effect. I've talked about this in my previous videos also, but I will talk about this here too. 1% of change is better than no change at all. So मैंने जो 5 टिप्स आपको दिए हैं, उसमें से अगर आप एक टिप भी ले लेते हो और उसको इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हो, that is going to make a difference that is massive. And what happens is, if you compound it, let's say you decide कि every 30 minutes के बाद I'm going to get up, I'm just going to let my body move, and then I'm going to sit again. If you do this again and again and again and again and again, you will compound the effects of it, and one day you will realize, oh my God, I can study for, let's say, an hour a day now, and I don't get tired because I allowed myself to have these processes to back my system, right? So compound it. आपके रिटर्न्स फिनोमिनल होते हैं अगर आप धीरे 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 इसको बढ़ने की परमिशन देते हो. सो दैट्स नंबर 1. नंबर 2, James Clear talks about 4 rules of behavior change, right? And productivity is a behavior, productivity is a habit. And to inculcate this habit, there are some behavior changes that you need to do. Number one is make it obvious. What does that mean? अब क्या होता है, people, let's say, try to get on a crash diet, right? People try to get on a diet, and what they do is, let's say, instead of making it easier for them to do that diet, they will make it sort of a little bit more like difficult. More than that, they will make it a non-obvious activity. So one of the best ways to, let's say, stop eating sweets is to get rid of all the sweets from your house. तो आपने क्या किया, आपने डिफिकल्ट कर दिया और आपने अपने ब्रेन को एक और स्टेप दे दिया just to get to that sweet, right? So if, let's say in this example, if you make it obvious, one day before, like you're supposed to study, अगर आपने वो किताब अपने स्टडी टेबल के ऊपर रख दी, what are you doing? You're making it obvious. आपने सामने रख रहे हो चीज और आपके ब्रेन को पता है, अच्छा मुझे यही करना है, सिंपल. और जितना आप उस एक्टिविटी को अपने लिए इजी बनाओगे, उतना आप उसको दोबारा रिपीट करोगे, राइट? सो फर्स्ट इज मेक इट ऑब्वियस. सेकंड इज ऑब्वियसली मेक इट अट्रैक्टिव. What happens here is, let's talk about this, right? Let's say you start waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, if you decide to do this habit with, let's say, a buddy, right? An accountability buddy, what happens is you have an incentive to show up every single day because you find it attractive. सुबह सुबह क्या होगा, सुबह सुबह अपने फ्रेंड को मैसेज करोगे, बोलोगे भाई आप उठे, and he will also say हाँ मैं उठ गया. So you will have some level of, let's say, reinforcement, some level of positivity, and you will look forward to that one thing in the morning कि चलो I'm going to speak to my friend, and that's why we're both waking up early. Now caveat है ऐसी दोस्त को चूज करना जो आपके साथ जल्दी ही उठे, ये ऐसे दोस्त को चूज मत करना जो नेक्स्ट डे फिर 3 बजे उठे, राइट? यू नीड टू चूज योर पार्टनर्स करेक्टली. सो मेक इट अट्रैक्टिव. This is the predisposition, right? This is where I want to go to this class. Or let's say I want to buy this packet of chips because it's so attractive to me. So make your habit of, let's say, a new habit attractive, and you can be creative with it, right? अपना दिमाग आप 15 जगह लेके जा सकते हो. अब let's talk about the fourth thing. Make it easy. What is make it easy? अगर आपने अपने हैबिट को unnecessarily difficult कर दिया, I swear to you, आप प्रोडक्टिविटी कभी भी नहीं ला पाओगे. क्यों? क्योंकि it is very difficult for the brain to process difficult information fast, but it is easier for the brain to process easy steps faster, right? So for example, अगर आप ऐसे पर्सन हो जो 1 बजे सुबह उठता है, उसको अगर आप बोलोगे कि 4 बजे उठे, उसके लिए वो बहुत ही इम्पॉसिबल टास्क होगा. So what you need to do is you need to make it easy. Instead of waking up at 1 o'clock, you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to wake up at 12:50. 10 मिनट का डिफरेंस है, पर डिफरेंस है, राइट? फिर नेक्स्ट डे क्या करोगे? Instead of waking up at 12:50, you put an alarm to 12:40. Again, 20 minutes का डिफरेंस है, पर डिफरेंस है. अब इस चीज को अपने लिए आसान बनाओ. जितना आप आसान बनाओगे, उतना चेंज लाना आपके लिए इजी रहेगा. सो you follow these steps, and the last thing in behavior change is you need to make it satisfying. We talked about making it attractive, making it obvious, making it easy. Satisfying is when, let's say, आपने ये सारी चीजें कर ली. You start waking up early, you go and get the sun in the morning, you know, also happen to take adequate amount of breaks throughout the day, कॉफी टाइम पे पी रहे हो, सब चीज टाइम पे कर रहे हो, सिलेबस अच्छे से खत्म हो रहा है, प्रोडक्टिविटी आपकी मतलब भयंकर इंक्रीज हो चुकी है. अब इसको सेटिस्फाइंग बनाना है. आपको अपने आप को कुछ रिवॉर्ड देना है. ये रिवॉर्ड कुछ भी हो सकता है. इट कुड बी यू फिनिश अ सीरीज इन अ डे. इट कुड बी यू, लेट्स से, गो आउट ऑन अ ड्राइव विद अ फ्रेंड. इट कुड बी, लेट्स से, यू जस्ट सिट टू योरसेल्फ एंड यू अप्रिशिएट योरसेल्फ. अब बस 1 मिनट तक अपने आप को अप्रिशिएट कर रहे हो, अपने आप को थैंक कर रहे हो और अपने आप को encourage कर रहे हो. So make it satisfying. Make yourself to want to do that again. Because if you follow these, let's say, 5 compounded steps, and you allow it to make a build up, right? Because UPSC लंबा गेम है. आपको एक दिन रियलाइज ही नहीं होगा कि आप कौन हो. You suddenly change, and that's the last bit of information that I want to leave you with, right? यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, जब आप ये टूल्स यूज करके अपनी प्रोडक्टिविटी इंक्रीज कर रहे हो, यू आर बिल्डिंग एन आइडेंटिटी फॉर योरसेल्फ, राइट? अब आपने देखा होगा कि बचपन में क्यों होता है, आप किसी भी लैंग्वेज को बहुत ही जल्दी लर्न कर लेते हो, या किसी भी चीज को बहुत जल्दी समझ आ जाता है कि मुझे ये नहीं करना. Why? Because there's a lot of encouragement when you're younger, right? So what happens is when you see a child basically saying A to B to C, there'll be 10 people reinforcing them, telling them, you're so good, कितना अच्छा किया. आप खुद ही अपने, कोई भी बच्चा होगा आपकी फैमिली में तो आप बहुत अप्रिशिएट करते हो. But as you move down in schooling, you stop appreciating yourself. Your teachers stop appreciating you, which is why it becomes very difficult to be able to do things which are newer, because you don't allow your brain to have that praise, right? तो आपको लगता है वो आइडेंटिटी जो है, जो मेरी स्टक है कि मैं नहीं पढ़ सकता, मैं नहीं हूँ प्रोडक्टिव, मैं सुबह नहीं उठ सकता, आई कैन नॉट यूटिलाइज माई टाइम वेल, स्टेज विद यू. But if you do these things in a compounded manner, if you do these things slowly, safely, and you allow yourself to make mistakes, and you allow yourself to appreciate yourself, just say to yourself, thank you. Thank you for waking up early. Just say to yourself, thank you for actually finishing this chapter. 10 पेज मैंने पढ़ लिए भाई. मैं एक दिन पहले 10 पेज भी नहीं पढ़ पा रहा था. Appreciate yourself, because what you are doing is you're building an experience of doing the right things. You're building experiences of positivity. और वो positivity आपकी identity में कब change हो जाती है आपको पता नहीं लगता. This is the difference of you being an aspirant to you being in Labasna, and you being in the camera here and talking about what is it that you did that really changed your life. So start somewhere. Start small, but start. So I hope you were able to find these 10 tips productive, because that is the point of it. You are able to apply this in your life. And I hope if there is any other extra information that you need, what we are going to do is we are going to link down these channels of Huberman as well as James Clear, the book. So you can refer to it and you can use that as well. Let me know what else is it that you want to hear or talk about or discuss when it comes to UPSC prep. And the next video will be about that. So thank you guys. All the best. See you soon.